Yeah, the whole series, We're Here Because We're Strong, a group of women from DR Congo who were living as refugees in Angola. And I'd gone to meet them in the camp. And, you know, I built up a connection with one particular group of women, and we would spend the days just hanging out and sharing stories. I think that's another thing that I always say is really important, is sharing stories. You know, I used to travel and always say I'm a photographer, and people would go, so what? When I started traveling and saying I'm a storyteller, people would understand because it fitted into other people's culture. I think, you know, storytelling is something intrinsic in every society. And when you say you're a storyteller, you also have to tell stories. So we share stories, and I think that's really important. So with this group of women, we've been sharing a lot of stories. I'd shared my own experiences, some of the stories of other people I'd met, and in return, they shared stories with me. And I can honestly say, you know, some of the experiences they had are some of the most horrific experiences I've ever heard of people who have gone through. And they're not something I particularly want to share. And sometimes you don't need to show the graphic detail of what they'd been through. But it's enough to say that some of the things they'd experienced in DR Congo were almost beyond imagination and horror. But what struck me was actually the strength of those women. And I'm very careful not to romanticize the idea of resilience and strength, because you don't want to sort of say, oh, these people, they're so strong, they're so amazing. No, they're going through a very difficult time. They have huge trauma to deal with. But at the same time, there was a power in these women, and something I very much connected with. And that's how I wanted to represent them. We talked about how they want to be photographed, and they wanted to be photographed, you know, as I used to do fashion photographs, and they wanted to be shown in that strength. And I think really they led the whole project. You know, I was just there as the instrument, as the photographer. And they stood there in front of this white sheet. There's nowhere to hide behind it. You know, a white sheet is a very clear, simple portrait. And just their strength just radiates through that. And I did ask them at one point, I said, how could you possibly have gone through everything like this? And they just looked at me and they said, we are here because we are strong. And yeah, for me, there was a huge power in these women that, yes, as I say, I don't want to romanticize the suffering. I don't want to say their lives were, you know, okay. They were in a very difficult circumstance. But what I would say is these women were unbreakable, and they held together their whole community. They held together their families, and it was just a privilege to be part of telling their story.